I'm very happy to see all of you here. And the first thing I want to mention is the toilet is over there, just so you know. And if anybody needs Wi-Fi, you can ask at the registration table. I think that's with the formal stuff. So, okay. Hello from my side. I'm Alexandra, who basically made all the invites and stuff. And here is our team of supporters who helped make this event. So I would really like if we all thank them with clapping. I think I first start with kind of saying my background. Like, I basically got interested in astrobiology by a TV show called X-Files, where they basically CIA agents looked into like alien happenings in America. So that was like, oh, I also want to search for life outside Earth. That seems so cool. So I started in University of Tartu in physics and did a specialty to biophysics. And then in master's, I did a specialty in astrobiology, and now I'm in explanatory science in Tartu Observatory. Yes, yeah, I also wanted to kind of mention maybe somebody is more newer to astrobiology. What is it exactly? It basically wants to answer three questions. How does life originate? Where has life come from? What kind of environment life needs to evolve? Like we are looking into extreme environments and such, and what will the life outside Earth be? And it is a very interdisciplinary because it basically can involve all of the science fields that you can think of. Like, for example, my favorite one is there is a professor in America who is studying alien languages. It seems very cool. So, okay, yeah. And then I wanted to also tell you about the journey of how we got to this event. It's basically, I went to a conference called EANA 2024 in Graz. And this made me think, oh, we should also have some kind of community in Estonia to have this astrobiology. So I established the University of Tartu Astrobiology group with the people that I already knew before that are interested in astrobiology. Then we also had a public seminar that was advertised all over Tartu University, and we also had people from Austria, which was very cool. Then we had one of our people present in Beacon, which is the biggest European astrobiology conference. And then later we joined EANA officially. Okay, there is somebody wants to get in, but front door. And now we finally made it to this day. So I'm very happy that we made it here. Yeah. Okay. And the main goal in the event is to make astrobiology community. And for that, we needed to look into the opportunities in Europe, which our speakers will all talk about. Then the opportunities in UK, which our group of people will talk about later on. And of course, we need you, astrobiology enthusiasts, here to listen to all of it. So the format today is to basically have this official at the beginning. Then we have a lunch here at the same table where the coffee and snacks were. Then we have a little group activity where I want to have more feedback from you, what you have learned and what you can do to make this astrobiology community possible. And then we have this evening snacks and then a networking event. This basically is maybe we can talk more, collaborate, and so on. And we also have an after party at Parma. So if anybody wants to party after that, it's also possible. So, yeah. So we have two speakers from abroad. We have Ruth, who's from Austrian Space Research Institute, and she will tell us about her journey to astrobiology. And then we also have Wolf. Unfortunately, he is online, and he will talk about the opportunities in Europe that we have with astrobiology. And then we have our group of people, where we have about space technology, but is there with how it connects with astrobiology. Then stellar physics, where I'm also part of, then geology and philosophy. So we have 4 disciplines that we can hear about right now, and maybe in the future we can hear from you also. Yeah, and also not mention future events in astrobiology. Tartu Observatory is organizing the astrobiology summer school in August, which is icy bodies and life. It's basically the solar system moons, icy moons, and how we can find life on there. We also have a part where you can actually observe, so that would be amazing. Then we also have next year in May, Beacon Conference, which I mentioned before, is the biggest European astrobiology conference. So this will be also very fun. And maybe we'll also have another astrobiology day, but next time maybe in Tallinn to have more people from Tallinn join us. And there is also a possibility of a summer school in 2027. And if you can't wait for so long, there's also European Astrobiology Institute seminars, which are very broad in disciplines, and they are every year. So if you want to get more information, you can come to me to ask about it. Yeah. And thank you all for coming. So let's make this astrobiology community happen. Thank you. So first, I will want to, as I invite our first speaker, Ruth, to the stage, and we'll put your slides on. Okay.
First of all, thanks to Alexandra and the team for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here in Tartu again. I was here like in 2017 the last time when we organized a conference here together with Rico over here and the board, who is online, I guess, or will be online. So yeah, my name is Ruth-Sophie Taubner. I'm from the Space Research Institute in Graz, which is in Austria, which is part of the Austrian Academy of Sciences. And just picked it. Yeah, so Alexandra invited me to come and to give like a talk about the astrology community and so on. And it took me like, I think like 2 weeks to think about what I would like to present, because it's a different task than a normal science talk, I would say. And then I asked her about the community who will be part of this conference. And she told me there will be a lot of young people coming. And so I thought maybe it would be interesting, especially for the young ones, to see how a career in astrology could be started. And maybe also for the little bit more senior people to see how they could support juniors in becoming an astrologist. And that's what the talk is about. And I will tell you a little bit about my very own career. So it will be very focused on my own career. It's not because I like to talk about myself. I mean, nobody likes that. But it's to show you an example of how it could work. Good. So my first slide would have been about work. Maybe I click on the slide.
Oh yeah, okay. Huh?
Yeah. So Alexandra already did a great job in explaining what astrobiology is. So my question now is for you, because I don't want to talk the whole time. What does astrobiology mean for you? So my first question would be, who thinks has already worked in astrobiology? Who thinks? Okay, Alexandra. Any one of you? Okay. Okay. Little bit, I see it now. Okay, getting more and more. Be broad, be brave. I think most of you already did, but you're not aware of. What do we? So you came here because you're interested in astrobiology, I guess, or because of the free food. I'm not sure. I guess because most of you are interested in astrobiology. So what is astrobiology for you? Why you think? Why you're here? Where are you expecting to see pictures from Area 51, see some aliens, or what is the interest of you? Why you are here? Who wants to be first? Who wants to be brave? Okay.
Abiogenesis.
Okay, abiogenesis. So what's before life, I would say.
Or that life.
Or where is the transition from chemistry to biology? Let's keep it like that. Okay. Anything else? What is astrobiology? Okay. So who is working in? Oh yeah.
I am a biology teacher.
Sorry,
A biology teacher.
biology teacher. Okay, so in school, high school. High school. Yeah.
I'm a librarian. I work with kids. I wanted to inspire, but I'm looking for news from zone.
Perfect. Okay, inspire the young ones, like being a teacher. That's amazing. I think astrobiology is very fruitful for that. I guess. So what Alexander already said is that astrobiology is very interdisciplinary. So do you all see your work field here?
Yeah.
What is missing?
Computer science.
Computer science is missing. Okay.
Languages.
Languages are missing.
Oh, close to languages, semiotics.
Semiotics. Okay. I do have some more here. Linguistics. I missed the computer science. Anything else missing?
Public health and epidemiology.
That's true. I forgot how. That's why I have some points here. In your own words here. What I want to say with this slide is that I would say like astrobiology is maybe the most interdisciplinary topic, science topic I can think about, because no matter what you're studying, no matter which field you're working, I'm quite sure you can somehow relate it to astrobiology. If you talk about health, for example, like I mean, there's like this little bit orange guy who wants to go to Mars. If we go to Mars, this is of course also related to astrobiology. We want to send humans to Mars, life to another planet. That's astrobiology. So, for example, that's part of astrobiology. You can think about philosophy. We will hear about philosophy later. You can think about linguistics. You said you about a professor in America in the US talking about alien languages. So this is also part. I heard once a talk about from Jesuits, like he's a priest in the Vatican City, and he was talking about how would the observation of alien life influence the religions on Earth. How would the Christian religion change if we find alien life? How would the Islam change, and so on and so on. So there are many different disciplines that could work in astrobiology. So that's really like a really open field of science. And I think like the question, are we alone, is something most of us already thought about, like sitting next to a fireplace, looking into the stars and thinking, okay, is that empty over there, or are there any other beings over there? So I think that's something very fundamental, and that's something also you can have kids thinking about already very early. So I gave astrobiology courses already like for 5-year-old kids, so they are very enthusiastic, and we have. Good, so that's astrobiology. And as I said, I will give you a very personal perspective about my own career in astrobiology. So it's not that you should take that as a blueprint how a career in astrobiology works, but as astrobiology is so interdisciplinary, so diverse, also the careers are very diverse. So I don't know any astrobiologists who, or two astrobiologists who have the same career. So we're very different, like our. Okay, so let's go back. Are there any bachelor students here? Okay, so this was me as a bachelor student. And then something happened, and now I'm standing here giving a talk at this conference or this meeting. And I would like to show you what happened in between being a very curious, a little bit skeptical bachelor student, and then now standing here getting an invitation to talk to you. So everything for me started in Vienna, where I grew up, and it was quite easy for me to decide what to study because the closest location to study was the observatory. So it was like a 10 minutes walk from my family's house. So it was clear for me, I'm a lazy person, I'm gonna study astronomy. I was also interested in astronomy, to be honest. So I started to study astronomy and physics, and that's our observatory here in Vienna. Anybody already have been in Vienna? Okay, yeah.
I have been.
Have you been to the observatory?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know it's like in a small park and on the outskirts of Vienna, and that's the area where I grew up. So I studied astronomy. I did my bachelor in astronomy. And after that, I of course was not very. I did my first summer school. So already as a late bachelor student, I already did my first summer school. Anyone of you who already did summer school at some point? Summer school. Any kind of. Yeah, you did some? Okay, perfect. You did some, maybe also as a teacher, I guess, or a mentor, not only as a student, yeah. So anytime you see an offer for a summer school and the topic is quite interesting, try to apply. It's really like, this gives you new insights into the field. You are around peers in a relaxed setting, so summer schools are really cool. So my first one was the so-called Alpbach Summer School. It's an ESA summer school in the middle of nowhere. So that's Austria. That's where I'm from. Here's Vienna. So that's the region where the Alps are, and Alpbach is in between the Alps, like in the middle of nowhere. And that's the little city, the village of Alpbach. And you and like I think 40 other peers get squeezed into this gym, which is from a high school in Alpbach, and you get like a hardcore course in mission planning. So our aim was, this was in 2009, our aim was to plan a mission to find exoplanets. So 2009 was like before that big discovering of the huge amount of exoplanets. So 2009 we were aware of some 100 exoplanets, and our aim was in 2 weeks or 10 days to create a mission to find more exoplanets. And this was called, our mission was called Pac-Man. And we wanted to characterize the planet atmosphere. So it was quite cool. And this was a very cool experience. I was a bachelor student, the others from my group were master students, but also PhDs and postdocs. So I learned a lot of my peers and like from other students who were way advanced than me, but it was a great experience. This summer school Alpbach is still there. It just had its 50th anniversary. I think the application deadline for this year is already over, but keep an eye on that. Maybe you can join next year. Then I went to the north. I went to Uppsala. I did my Erasmus in Uppsala in my first year of masters. It was quite amazing. So I arrived with, it was almost the same weather as here, like sunny, typical Nordic weather, was it like sunny and over the semester I was able to study in the Engstrom laboratory, and in the end, of course, there was a lot of snow. That's when I left Uppsala, and it was also like a very forming experience, I would say, being abroad, being away from home for the first time, being in a different country with a different language, meeting new people. This was really like something I would do again at any point. Later on, during my master's, I started to build up my network, and I think that's what also Alexander would like to do, and your colleagues would like to do, building networks. And how do you build up networks? You visit conferences. So this was my first conference. It was about the history and philosophy of astrobiology. So you see, already like in my master's, I was interested in astrobiology, and this was the very first conference. It was in Sweden, yeah, on the island of Ven, which is a small island between Denmark and Sweden. And this was quite a very interdisciplinary and very thoughtful, I would say, conference, because It was all about astrobiology, but in another level, not like in a natural science level, but more like in a thought experiment level, I would say. So this was really cool. In 1 year later, so this was in 2011, so it was my second master's year. In my third master's year, I was able to join ExoLife. ExoLife was a research platform at the University of Vienna. It's something like a post-action, but smaller, like in a university. And this ExoLife platform was, the idea of this research platform was to work on the possibility of alien life, like life which is maybe not based on the same molecules that our life is based on, like maybe different solvents, not using water, but maybe something different and so on. So this was quite interesting. And here there was the idea was also to have at the end of the project to have a conference, and this was the conference was in May 2012. It was extraterrestrial life beyond our expectation, and this was the first time I was involved in organizing a conference. And this was another step in my networking experience, because if you organize an event, I think you can relate to that. You get to know the people a little bit better. You get to know how conferences work. You get to know the structure behind scientific networks. So this was also quite exciting for me. So I really enjoyed it here to be part of the local organizing committee and to get to know the people a little bit closer, because if you exchange emails, you get to know the people. And if people arrive and say, you're the one we send emails, you already can start talking. And that's already very helpful. In 2012, I finished my master's, and 1.5 years later, I started my PhD in astronomy. And I was very lucky because as being part of ExoLife, there was an open PhD position. And my professor, where I did my master's, she said, okay, I do have the money for an open PhD position, but currently I have no idea what the PhD position should be about. Do you have any ideas? So I was in the lucky position to write my own PhD proposal and to know that it will be accepted and there will be money. So this was very lucky. I was very lucky here. So I went into literature. I did already some research for my master's, and I thought like what I did for my master's, I would like to go more into detail, a little bit a different way. I will come to my PhD project a little bit later, but this was very lucky. So I really was able to work on my PhD on a topic that I decided to work on. This was quite, I think, not often a possibility for the most PhD students. And it was also the year in 2013 when I started my PhD that I attended my first EANA conference. So Alexander already told you that there are, like I would say, 2 big conferences in Europe. And it's the EANA conference, which is more, EANA is more, I will talk about EANA a lot, a grassroots community. So it's people are becoming members, and it's about the people and interaction between the peoples. And then the EAI, I will also give like a short introduction to the EAI later, but Ruth will do that more detail. That's more like an institutional community, like where universities or research groups join, and then it's more about politics and more about like the big things. Here, EANA is more about like interpersonal interactions and networking. So that's in what I said, like in 2013, I joined EANA the first time. So EANA is quite old, I would say, network association. It was founded already in 2001. So this year we have the 25th anniversary. And it was founded between astrobiology enthusiasts and the ESA back then in Italy. And at the moment, we have 22 member states, and you can see Estonia is also part since last year, with Alexander being the Estonian representative. And we also have Japan and Russia joining the European colleagues. So you can see there's a lot of states in Europe already joining EANA. We always try to motivate the missing states to join EANA, and we are working on that at the moment. For the structure, so the EANA has a council, and every member state has a representative, and we have the same number of elected council members. So now we have 22 countries, which means like double the amount, 44 members in the council. And there's also executive council, which means like for 3 years we have a president, we have vice presidents, we have secretaries, and a treasurer, and also like the so-called AbGradE representative. I will talk about AbGradE a little later. Is part of the executive council, also the honorary presidents, so the former presidents. And now you can see why I like to talk about the EANA, because that since last year I'm the vice president. Before that I was the secretary. So I'm really proud of being part of the EANA community, and I think like the EANA community really like helped me to become the astrobiologist I am today. EANA currently has 170 active members. Active means someone who paid the membership fee this year or last year, which is 25 euros per year. That's the EANA Council. We have conferences all over Europe. You can see here the numbers in which year we had the conference in which country. So as Alexander said, in 2024, it was in Austria, it was in Graz. That's where also like the idea of Estonia coming to Austria raised. I was hosting the conference in 2024 in Graz. Last year it was in Lisbon, in Portugal. This year it will be in Switzerland, in Neuchâtel. So if you want to see the beautiful city Neuchâtel in the middle of the Alps, come to Switzerland. And as you can see, there's still nothing here. I know that EAI plans to come here next year, but maybe EANA the year after or so. We're a little bit smaller. Most of the time we have the people of the EAI conference, and it's easier to navigate a smaller amount of people. But it would be nice to have a conference here. So we just think about it, especially the younger ones, if you want to help organizing. You can see here the number of participants. We had the biggest EANA at the beginning here which was also in Graz in Austria, with more than 300 participants, which were more participants than for the EAI conference, for example. So at that time we were bigger, but it's getting smaller and bigger. And so you can see it's like around 200 people, I would say, the EANA conference, 150 people, which is a good number, because then you really get to know the people. I would say everything above 300 is a little bit hard to get to know all the people and to network. So I prefer the smaller conferences. And what's very interesting maybe for the younger ones is that more than half of the people attending EANA are early career researchers. So as you can see here, for example, the bachelor school students, the high school students, master students, PhD students are more than half of the people joining EANA. Then we have the postdocs and the seniors. So that's very, it's a very fruitful community, I would say, very enthusiastic young people joining EANA. And one of the reasons why we have so many people is that we have a lot of travel grants. So if you want to come to EANA and you have problems with finding funding to come to EANA, especially, for example, like this year in Switzerland, I can totally see that this could be complicated. Apply for a travel grant. You can see that travel grants are distributed all over the countries. See Estonia here from 2024, I guess it was you. So it's Alexander can tell you that it's not that hard to get a grant, and please apply, try to come to EANA. We also have a number of awards. So there's the Space Factor Award, which is a presentation award. So there's a Space Factor contest where early careers can present their work, and with some regulations, like there has to be a video, and it should be like very, it should be, I would say like the Space Factor presentations are the best presentations at EANA, because you can see like the early careers are really like are motivated to present their work. We also have poster awards for each topical theme. We have a poster award, and from time to time we have other awards. So, for example, like in Graz, we had a meme meme challenge. So people were allowed to send in memes, which which were related either to the conference or to astrobiology in general. It was quite fun. Good. As I said, the next one is in Neuchâtel, Switzerland. The registration and abstract submission starts, I think, next or the week after. So check our website and maybe you would like to come to. If you have any questions about EANA, don't hesitate to send me an email or also like Alexandra, because she's part of the council, so she's well aware of everything. My first conference was in Stettin, in Poland, in July 2013, and I was a 2-month PhD, not the first year, but I was in 2 months, and I already presented a poster, and it was my very first scientific poster, and for this very first scientific poster, I already got a poster award. I never got an award after that for my posters, only the first one. But it helped me to be very motivated for the EANA conferences. So that's something you can then put into your CV, and people would like, oh, amazing, you got an award. So that's also something for you guys. Try to have nice posters to get an award. Yeah, after being at my first EANA, or during EANA 2013, there was the funding of AbGradE. So that's something I'm really like, I want to recommend from the bottom of my heart. So AbGradE are the astrobiology graduates in Europe. They were founded in 2013 at the conference dinner of EANA. And AbGradE is like, the aim of AbGradE is, it's first of all, it's an independent organization, which is managed only by early career scientists, so by enthusiastic, mainly PhDs and postdocs. And the aim is that AbGradE always have some kind of satellite events next to the big conferences. So if there's an EAI conference, like a beacon, if there's a EANA, AbGradE tries to have an AbGradE event the day before. The idea is that, especially like early careers who visit, who attend conference for the first time, who might get a little bit frightened by like all the new people and all the big names maybe and all the scientists around, that the day before they get to know their peers, they get to know other students at their age, and yeah, try to find like someone who they can connect to, and then maybe fight together through the conference. And that's what AbGradE is for. So AbGradE is really like aiming to help early careers to network, to find each other, and then to be a little bit more brave to go to the conference after that, and to talk to the big names, I would say. AbGradE already has like 19 events so far. And if you look a little bit closer, you can see here, 2017, we were here in Tartu. Here's Rino. Here's Wolf, who will give the talk after me. That's me. So we were already here. It was great fun organizing this conference together with Wolf. It was the first time for AbGradE to organize a conference apart from EANA, and it was somehow like the start for AbGradE to get independent from EANA, and to go outside and work together with other here it was the European Astrobiology campus. For most of I joined AbGradE in 2015, and my last AbGradE was in 2023, which was the Beacon conference in La Palma. So Beacon always has some very nice places where the conferences are organized. And from 2016 to 2023, I was AbGradE president. So I was like the main organizer of most of this conference. It was really tough, especially here in the Corona time, where we had to do everything online. but it was still an amazing experience. So I learned a lot of being part of AbGradE, of being part of a network, of being part of an organization committee. So that's also something I would say. I know it's additional work for students, and I know students have a lot to do besides doing their master thesis, their PhD thesis, and their many other activities. But being part of such a network and being part of an organization team really helps you getting better structured yourself too, and also getting to know more people, I would say. If you're interested in the AbGradE event, the next one is the day before EANA. Here you can scan the QR code. It's not a registration, don't be afraid. It's just an indication of interest. And if you are interested, then you get emails about the next steps. So if you want to join the next AbGradE event, which will be the day before EANA in Neuchâtel in Switzerland, check that QR code. And for those of you who are afraid about finding accommodation, there's a camping place in Neuchâtel. I think that would be really cool to camp next to the lake. And I think there will be many students doing that. So AbGradE can also be seen some kind of a springboard. So if you think about AbGradE and EANA in this year, so the last election took 25 to 28, there were 2 current AbGradE members part of the council, 7 former AbGradE people part of the council. And if you look at the about the executive committee, 4 of us are former AbGradE members. So the younger generation takes over EANA at the moment. So the majority of the executive committee are now AbGradE. So you can see that really it helps. So Lena was the former president of AbGradE, then it was me, and then it was Silvana. So at least the 3 former presidents of AbGradE were able to join the EANA committee and the executive committee. So you can see that working in AbGradE also pays off when coming to the seniors, I would say. Besides doing my PhD, I always wanted to become a teacher. So at the beginning of my PhD, I worked a lot on my computer. So I did a lot of simulating. Computer science is great, but it's not my thing. So when doing my first year of PhD, I was like, no, I don't want to be stuck on my computer for the rest of my life. So I started my diploma school degree, which is 5 years in Austria to become a high-school teacher. So I did that in parallel to my PhD. And also, as you can see here, I also started to study physics at the same time when I did study astronomy, but I wasn't able to finish it for at least 15 years. So I did my PhD, the diploma thesis, and during my PhD in astronomy, I switched fields. So I throw away my telescope and took a microscope. So I switched from astronomy to microbiology during my PhD, because astrobiology is interdisciplinary. So that's also what you have to do in physics, in your PhD. So I switched from the ExoLife platform to the Archaea Biology and Economics group in Vienna, and worked on Archaea, which are something like bacteria, but a little bit different. Within the time of my PhD, I tried to attend at least one summer school every year. So I've been to the Canary Islands in 2014. I've been to Iceland and Sweden in 2015. I've been to Vietnam in 2016, and in 2017 to Chile. And by that time, I was hired only 20 hours at the university. So I didn't have so much money. But how did I manage to go there? It's not that I was robbing banks in my spare time. It's because of travel grants. Apply for travel grants. Travel grants are the easiest way to get money for your conferences, but also something you could put into your CV. It's the first thing you can do as a student to get money and to show your next supervisor that you are aware of how to get money. It's later on you write proposals for projects, But writing a small proposal for travel grants is already like the first step to get the knowledge how to write such a proposal and to get some small amounts, like some hundreds, maybe €1,000. For Vietnam, for example, I was so lucky. I got so many travel grants that I was also able to include a 5-day trip to Cambodia and had €100 extra in the end. So it's if you're a little bit if you're curious and look around in the internet and you find some kind of travel grants, go for it, and it will help you to go to these conferences or those summer schools. About my PhD, I told you that I'm doing my PhD, but I didn't tell you yet about my PhD project. I was working on that little fellow. Anyone knows what that is? Yeah, of course you know that. But the others? Okay, okay.
I think it's
Oh yeah, it's Enceladus, exactly. So that's Enceladus. It's a small moon. So here you can see Saturn. That's the E-ring, part of the denser part of the E-ring, and in the middle of the E-ring, this dot, that's Enceladus. That's a small icy moon of Saturn. And what you can see here is that's why it's special, because there are glaciers, the plume at the south polar region of Enceladus. And this plume, so the Cassini mission, Cassini-Huygens mission from the NASA and ESA was flying around the Saturnian system. You can see that there were like 23 target flybys. So Cassini was passing by Enceladus 23 times, sometimes really close. And really close means like just like dozens of kilometers. Like the closest one was 26 kilometers above the surface. So it was passing by, and as you can see in this very good animation, passing by Enceladus, flying through the plume, did some in situ measurements. So that's why you have to work at NASA to have this kind of voice. That's amazing. I will play around with Cassini and Enceladus, I think, for half the day. So that's Hunter Wade. That's the PI of one of the mission instruments from the INMS instrument. And his instrument was the one who was able to measure what's inside the plume. And the cool thing is that the stuff inside the plume is mainly water, which means like there is some subsurface water on Enceladus. So you have seen the icy surface, and beyond that ice shell, there's liquid water, a huge global ocean of liquid water. There could be even more water than on Earth's oceans. And that's what a part of that was measured by Cassini. So most of it is water, like 69 to 68% of the whole. 96 or 90 to 98% of the whole plume material which is coming out is water. But you also found some ammonia, you found hydrogen, methane, and CO2, and some other. These are some examples from other potential molecules they found in the plume. And the molecules they found in it, they give you some insights into the inner part of Enceladus. So from what we found in the plume, we can say that there has to be hydrothermal vents at the bottom of the oceans. So hydrothermal vents, like you maybe know the black smokers, the white smokers from Earth, something like this is on the bottom. And we know that because of the silicate found in the plume material, that water somehow gets into the core, in the rock core, and then gets sprayed out from the hydrothermal vents. So there's some kind of circulation in Enceladus. And if you think about liquid water, hydrothermal vents, some hydrocarbons, this very much resembles of abiogenesis, or maybe even the origin of life. So that's one of the ideas, that on Earth life might have originated from such hydrothermal vents. So that's why Enceladus is so interesting for astrobiology. It's not that I claim that there will be life on Enceladus, but the conditions are very much the same as we might think could have been at the at the time where life originated on Earth. All the things you have found here, like ammonia, H2, H2O, methane, and CO2, like the main ingredients of the plume, are also part of metabolism, namely the metabolism of methanogens. Methanogens are archaea. So you know, maybe now we make the connection why I switched to the group of archaea biology in my PhD, because methanogens, they, let's say, consume H2 and CO2 and produce methane. That's why they have the name from, and water. So all the ingredients of methanogenesis are available on cellulose. So that was why my PhD project, I would say. So what I did was I did some literature research and screened which kind of microbes could live on Enceladus, and I came up with the idea of, or I adapted the idea of methanogens. I started to somehow treat them with some gaseous inhibitors, so gaseous components found in the plume, to see if they can resist or they can still live if there are like this kind of gases inside their environment. Then I also started to add liquid inhibitors, for example, like ammonia or formaldehyde, which was found on Enceladus. At the same time, I started to do high pressure experiments to see if it's on the subsurface, there will be some pressure, like 80 bars, around 80 bars, to see if an organism can withstand this high pressure. Then I combined the liquid and the gaseous inhibitors, and in the end, I combined everything. So I really tried to mimic the Enceladian-like conditions. So high pressure and all the tough components found in the plume, like as I said, formaldehyde, methanol, CO2, CO, and so on and so on. So all this combined, and in the end, there was like one strain, Methanodemococcus opinavensis, who was able to withstand all this. So this was my high pressure reactor at the JKU in Linz, and this was like my final graph. It was my final paper for my PhD. And what you can see here, the most important part is that one here. What you can see here is that there's still a bar, which means there's still methane production at 50 bars with all the inhibitors. So even at high pressure with all the inhibitors, we were able to show that there was methane production, which means that our organisms were still able to have metabolism and to divide and to grow. So it was the first experiment of its kind. It was the first time that someone showed that organisms from Earth could thrive in Enceladian-like conditions. It was not perfect Enceladian conditions, I have to be honest. We had to do some adaptations, but it was the first time that it was almost Enceladian-like. So this was really good. In the meantime, after that, we also did some experiments about potential biosignatures. So biosignatures are some kind of potential molecules that could give an idea if there's life on another planet or another moon. And we focused on amino acids and lipids. And what we found out is that even if we only if you take the same strain, but change the environmental conditions, like a little bit the temperature, a little bit the pressure, a little bit the volume, even then the biosignature pattern changes, which means that defining biosignatures is really hard because you can't even define it for a strain you know. This was the outcome of this thing. And then in the end, I received my PhD, and I got a PhD hat. I don't know if is that something like a tradition also here in Estonia? If not, you should start with that. It's amazing. So the idea of a PhD hat is that you get it after finishing your PhD, and the PhD hat should somehow resemble your PhD field. So for me, it was here at Enceladus. I'm very into dinosaurs too. That's why we have some dinosaurs on Enceladus. And here you can see the plume. So it was amazing. And that's an astronaut head. So that was quite funny. When do I have to stop? Already.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I still have to. Thank you.
Okay, I have to be fast, I see. Okay, so after PhD, I was lucky to, after PhD, the EANA was founded. So EANA was founded in 2017, 18. We'll talk about that later. So the European Astrobiology Institute, as I said, that's the one for the big players, for the institutes, for the universities to join. And I was lucky to do a postdoc in the same lab where I did my PhD on a microbiology topic. And after that, after the postdoc, I think, are any postdocs here? You're a postdoc? Okay. I think you can relate. After postdoc number 1, it's getting hard. So what you're doing, what do you do after your first postdoc? Maybe already after your PhD. So most of the time what you do is sit down and write proposals. And I wanted to continue working in astrobiology. So I wrote tons of proposals and most of them got rejected. And I would like to give you like an example from 2 rejections, just to see how difficult it is in general to write proposals, but also like in astrobiology. So the first question was about the scientific scholarly quality. Review 1 said it was excellent what I wrote. Review 2 said it was good. And I got only 2 reviews. You can, I think you can see if I got the proposal or not, if I got it through. The problem was that review 2 misunderstood my proposal. So he was like, you haven't worked on any bacteria. And I was like, no, because bacteria are not part of archaea. I'm focusing on archaea. And he was not aware that if he said, I did a quick Google Scholar research and I found this and this and this strain that could work too, but he didn't realize that this was where bacteria, not archaea. And you can't do anything about it. In another section, it was about the research-related qualification of the applicant, so about me. So both were okay with me. So I was okay, but my project was not. And the overall evaluation was like, this review was like, oh yeah, get it funded. This one says, oh, it's average. And this is hard. I think every postdoc goes through this kind of, I hope that there is some postdoc who has never got a rejection, but I think that's almost impossible. That's something you might get. I also like that one. So I waited for a proposal decision for half a year to, after half a year, get the email that because it was too innovative and too interdisciplinary, there was no review found for my project. So I waited half a year just to get the information that they were not able to find any review for my proposal. That could happen if you do interdisciplinary work. Still, do it. It's amazing. And there will be reviews at some point. Maybe just this agency was not good enough to find them. Yeah, so I got rejections one after the other. And I was like, what should I do now? And then like COVID came. And I think I'm the only person who was a little bit glad that COVID came, because I was able to finish both my diploma school teacher degree and finally my physics degree after like 500 years doing my bachelor's. So this was good. And in the end, I got a call by the professor where I did my high pressure experience during my PhD that he has a postdoc position he wasn't aware of, because he got a proposal through where he never thought that it would go through and he would need a postdoc. And I was like, hey, do you have time in September? And I was like, okay. So I started my postdoc here in Linz in 2021. And I've been there 1.5 years, and then there was like an announcement of a position in Graz for a scientific coordinator. And this was the only position I applied for, and I got it. I was lucky, and now I'm in Graz. And some of you know the institute in Graz. You have let's see, it's a video. It's about what we are doing in Graz.
Austria's efforts at exploring the universe are closely connected with an institute which recently celebrated its 50th anniversary. The Space Research Institute, IWF for short, of the Austrian Academy of Sciences in Graz is the heart of space research in Austria. Since its foundation, it has earned an excellent reputation internationally. There is hardly a space mission today that launches without technology and research from Graz. The IWF is the only institute in Austria that develops and builds space-qualified instruments on a large scale. The institute is currently involved in 24 space missions. The IWF is much in demand worldwide as a dependable partner for space organizations and their missions within and beyond the solar system.
So when I started my job at the IWF, I asked the director, why did you choose me? And she said, because of your interdisciplinarity and your network. So you can see that that's helping. That's helping your CV. So as I said, something happened, and this something was a lot. You can see that there's no like straight line on how to become an astrologist or how to become a researcher at all. It's always like very, very special. It's all very, very specific. Everybody's doing it on their own way, on their own speed, I would say. But I would say there are like some lessons learned. First of all, be open. There are opportunities. There are opportunities everywhere, especially, for example, like the summer schools. So I would say like the summer schools, most of the summer schools I attended were organized by Wolf. Like, so if you see some kind of summer schools popping up, especially the ones from the EANA, attend them. Try to get there, apply for a position, apply for a place. It's really helping. You get to know people, you get to know researchers because there are always very good lecturers coming. That's the first part. Start to go to summer schools or something like this, workshops. Be patient. You never know what happens. Be patient. There will be opportunities coming up. Stay curious and brave. You have to improvise. You have to little bit maybe change your route, the route you had in your mind for the next 10 years. It might change like 3 times in the next hour. But be aware that you have to adapt. And of course, China team, China network, become part of the Estonian network, become part of EANA, try to get your supervisor to join EAI, maybe like your whole research group or in your university to join EAI. And of course, as a young one, try to get to communities like AbGradE. This is really amazing. This helps you a lot working together with peers. And with that, I would like to thank you. And I'm over time, I'm sorry, but I hope.
We also want to thank you.
Oh,
If we can take questions, thank you.
thank you. Oh, wow, thank you.
I see Wolf is here. Wolf, can you hear us?
Myself. Sorry, yes, I had muted myself. Can you hear me also?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, is there also the sound all right? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, any questions when they do the technical part? I mean, I will be around the next hours anyway.
Iusonic.
So Wolf, you can share your screen.
Yes, I will. Just a moment. I will just share my screen. Send request. I have to request allowance. You have to allow me to do that. And then I will share this. Hopefully it works with that. So, yeah. Okay, can you see the full screen without any disturbances?
Yeah.
Is it okay? Can you see the screen? Can you see the screen moving now?
Mm, no. Wolf,
No?
are you speaking already? Because we can't hear you.
Okay, just a moment. I will, yeah, so this is the Zoom.
Wolf, can you speak now?
Yes, I can speak now, yes.
Okay, now I'm hearing. I think you can share and start to talk.
Yes, just a moment. Yes, just
Yes.
let me just say this. And can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Can you see it moving now?
Yes.
Okay, then I will start, but please interrupt me if it does not work, please. So I hope that you
Okay.
can hear. Pardon?
Yeah, we can hear you. The people in the back, can you hear him? Not really. I mean, you can.
Yeah. I'm very sorry that I could not come to Tartu, but I have teaching today, and then tomorrow at 6 o'clock I'm flying to Prague to organize a spring school, of course, on an astrobiology related subject, where we had 100 applicants. So it is really getting as our events are really starting to get very popular. Okay, so is the sound all right on your end?
Yes.
Okay, then I will start. Sorry about that, but I think I always like to make sure that people can hear me. Normally, I have got a very, as you can hear from my accent, I have the same nationality as Ruth, so there is a very strong Austrian connection in astrobiology, and I regret that I was not able to come to Tartu because I am a Baltic Sea person. I feel myself in Tartu more at home as in Graz, and in um, Tallinn more at home as in Salzburg. So I always like to see Estonia and visit Estonian researchers. So as you have seen, you have two great astrobiology organizations in Europe, the EANA, which actually has individual numbers and which Ruth presented, and the European Astrobiology Institute, which is a consortium of institutions which I will present. There are also national societies in France, Germany, UK, Spain, Italy, and in some other countries. And there is, of course, AbGradE as a special organization for early career scientists. What is the European Astrobiology Institute, where Tartu is actually a very active member in? It's a virtual institute, so it's founded by research and higher education institutions and organizations. We don't have a building, we don't have an excessive administration also, which is very nice that it is inclusive but manageable. It's mainly a collaboration of institutions, not individuals. We have a local coordinator at each entity, but there are, of course, a lot of possibilities where you can get involved in the working group. There is a wide range of activities, and the funding is by membership institution fees, and we have also some grants. So we have 6 organizations, which are the core organizations, which Ruth has called the big players, which is CNRS, CNS, CRB, enough in Italy, which you are all known, the Belgian National Royal Society for Research, and the German Aerospace Center, which in Germany is called DLR, and we are negotiating with the ESSI. We have 22 participating institutions. One of them is actually the University of Tartu, which brings us a budget of around 90,000 euros per year. So I swear to God that it is that this is the only administrative slide I will put on. We have, of course, our structure. We have a management committee, which consists of the working group leaders, which means that we have a working board and we just don't have functionaries which think that only to be there is already enough. We have the working groups, which form the backbone, and there is a management committee consisting of the chair, vice chair, and the working group leaders. There is an executive committee for the day-to-day work that we can't really, they don't have to ask the management committee every time we transfer 200 euro from one place to another. And there is a host organization, of course, which provides the legal framework, and this is the European Science Foundation. And we have also a supervisory board of trustees, which is also looking at our reports and looking at our plans, that we have some view from outside. So the background are the working groups, and the working groups are open for everybody. So you can actually join the working group when your institution is not part of the EAI, which is not a problem for Tartu because it is, but you can also, you don't have even to be European to join one of the working groups. And there are scientific working groups which cover the scientific part, and there are activity working groups which are the activity which are doing, for example, funding and policy, education, outreach, dissemination, intellectual output, industry liaison, which is also Tartu very heavily involved, and the European Astrobiology campus is more or less based at Tartu, where Rio Motlab is functioning as a director of studies, as me as a chair. So this is a strong unit which is actually based in Tartu. We have also smaller project teams, and these project teams I'm very happy about because they turned out to be very active. And the following ones were installed. You find a list. They are going from impacts and their role in the evolution of planets, moons of life, a subject where also Tartu is very much involved in, over tracing life and identifying habitable environments. Two subjects like astrobiology and art, they are very active, and science fiction is a tool for astrobiology outreach and education, where we have done an anthology recently. Well, very much. We are engaged in training, and that's already what Ruth mentioned, and thanks for advertising our summer schools. So this here is a summer school we had in Saaremaa in Estonia quite a bit of time ago. You see here Carla Kirsemeyer, they had a long-standing head of department of the geology. And here we actually did some digging in the very famous Kali crater. So we have the following training events. We have the basic training schools in astrobiology, which is run by Muriel Gago and recently by a colleague of her who has taken over that, and this is every year. But also we have specialized training schools in subfields, and these are preferably involving field exercises. We have the EAI Academy, which is a lecture series of 4 themes in astrobiology, and this EAI Academy is co-coordinated actually by Ruth and Maria Sorzano-Paz from the Centro de Astrobiología in Spain. There is also the collection of astrobiology lectures is available online on astrobiologia.com, and we also have doing the development of courses together with the students. And this allows us to get really the best lecturers and students together to create teams. And since Ruth was talking a lot about money, and money unfortunately mentioned, I can mention that one of our summer schools created a team for a follow-up expedition in Iceland and won a prestigious NASA Peace Star grant of $1.5 million. And 2 alumni of our summer schools won the 219 DPS award in Geneva at the meeting, and I was sitting in there and I was a bit proud, I have to assume. So this was the summer school we had in Saaremaa, so we had the electrometric mapping. We also had a dinner in the Kuressaare Castle, and we also found some archaeological things, unfortunately, only a dagger from the 16th century. We had also, Ruth has mentioned the summer school Life on Earth and Beyond on the Van Islands. We had two of them. The last one was in 2022. And this was very interesting because it brought philosophers, humanities, and natural scientists together on discussions of how do we define life? Which philosophical challenges we have? How did the biological function evolve? How can we search for life outside Earth, and which evidence would we think is conclusive? And we also had excursions around the island of Van, which was inhabited for a long time by Tycho Brahe, who built the castle there where he did his observations. Yes, that was the next, that was some impressions from this, and that was how Tycho Brahe's castle looked when it was in full bloom. We had in 2022, just after the pandemic, when people were keen to come together, the so-called Azores Astrobiology Marathon, with a summer school on volcanism, planets, hydrothermal vents, and life, with a workshop on life in the subsurface and a field trip to lava caves, sulfur dars, and hot springs for free for 7 days. So I spent about almost 4 weeks of the Azores during this year on preparing and running all this stuff. It was becoming a bit Azorian. So this is the AI Academy, which I mentioned, which is also co-led by Ruth, which is a series of 16 didactic talks bi-weekly. And every year we have 4 different subjects. These seminars are offered for free. They usually have up to 200 or even more participants, and you can get credit points also for those. And this is organized, the main organizer is Maria Sosano Paz, and also Ruth is very much involved in that. We also are doing outreach or public engagement, as it's called nowadays, to organize permanent exhibitions. We had several ones of those. We also use new techniques in outreach, like apps and social media. And we also produced a science fiction anthology called Life Beyond Us, where there were 28 different science fiction stories and 28 essays by scientists who then explained what is behind then these science fiction stories, because for a layman, it's not really always so easy to distinguish in a science fiction story where the science stops and where the fiction belongs. We also have produced a planetarium film in dark biospheres, and this won a prize for the best film at the Full Dome Festival in the Czech Republic 2 years ago, and it has scooped also a couple of prizes in the meantime. We also have a very good fellowship on Facebook and LinkedIn with 4,000 followers. We are not active on X anymore for political reasons. And we also have outreach activities at conferences. We also were involved in the Encyclopedia of Astrobiology, and I would actually like to stress our web-streamed seminars, and of course we have got our Beacon conference. We also organize field trips. Here you see me inside an Icelandic lava caves to share expertise and equipment, to get local support with red tapes, and we also support teams of students and early career institutions. So this is the Pelé team with also some ex-inmates from one of the summer schools I organized. And we also have field-based workshops. So finally, as Ruth mentioned, we have the Beacon conference, and the first Beacon conference was in La Palma, an island, and I was a little bit skeptical, a new conference, a new format, but the resonance was overwhelming. It was more than 200 people. And we had a very good time in La Palma. We had 4 days of scientific sessions. We had also a public event in Spanish for the local population. They organized the concert also. And we also had guided visits to the Neguya lava field eruption and to the telescopes at Roque de muchacho. And we had, as Ruth has mentioned, an early career event before. So apart from the scientific conference where Michel Mayor, whom you can see, Nobel laureate in 2019, had done a lecture. We had a conference, and we had an after conference outing where I treated also afterwards at the end of the walking tour we had over the Ruta des Vulcanos, the people to stop with some jamón de bellota. And since the weather was fine, we could also see the so-called Cascada de Nubes, which is a feature of clouds you can see in La Palma. This is created by the trade wind, which comes in from the northeast here. I think this film was even shot by Ruth. Then we had the Falcon 2025 conference, where we had 3 days of scientific program and 80 early career scientists. And I was very, very happy about this event because it got the astrobiology with AbGradE and the origin of life communities together. And it was a little bit problematic always to get these two communities to interact, and there was a little bit of fears in both communities. But now, I mean, they have this Falcon conference and we had not only 3 days of scientific program, we had also 1 day of an excursion to the guys here, Gudelfoss and the old parliament site in Þingvellir in Reykjavik in Iceland, and the Beacon Conference 2025 was in just after that. So this is the whole crowd. Some more old scientists you can see to the right, but the vast majority was early career people. So then we had Beacon 2025, and we had 5 days of scientific program, 320 attendees, and we had 35 different nations. So we are really attracting people from all over the world, from places like Mongolia, Philippines, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, of course, and Chile. So it was very, very multi-ethnic. We had this early career scientists from a meeting we had before. We had also bursaries. Ruth mentioned this, to support teams of scientists, students, and early career investigators. And we had about 40 people who have received the bursary. And in total, there were 40% early career people, not only attending the meeting, but also giving the talks. So we're really a young and dynamic community. Apart from me, who is not that young anymore, but I hope that I'm reasonably dynamic. And to finish that off, I would like to show you a small video of our Beacon conference in Iceland. And this meeting will very probably be in Tartu, and we have also very probably done a Falcon meeting before. But just let me show you this small video, and then I open for questions. Opening ceremony with some dancing event. So we always make an effort to have nice events also. General Assembly. And of course, we had excursions to interesting sites. Visit to a museum, and then, of course, the obligatory conference banquet. In a carousel restaurant in Reykjavik. It's about midnight. Okay, that was it. And I give the word back to our chairwoman, Alexandra, and I'm open for questions and discussion contributions.
Thank you very much, Wolf.
Serves as the chairwoman of the World Peace Foundation. Please feel
Do
free.
you have any questions for Wolf and maybe Ruth as well? So until Alexandra for the next talk, we still have some time. So really, I have a question. Let's say I'm a master or bachelor student, and I'd like to join the EANA, for example. What do I need to do? Do I need to go to the representative of my university who's representing the country, or how should I start? Who should I approach?
Yeah, I am not sure that I have acoustically understand. Maybe somebody closer to the micro can repeat the question for me.
Okay, Wolf, I will repeat the question.
Yes, I can
Hilary
hear you.
asked, Hilary asked if she would be a bachelor, master, PhD student, how could they join EAI? Like, basically, do they need to go to the representative of the
Yeah, so I mean, yes, this is a good question. To join European Astrobiology, to join a working group, you just write to the leader of the working group. We have, of course, a website. I will actually screen share this again. And so I will share again, and I will put up our website. Just a moment. Yeah. Okay. So your European Astrobiology Institute's website is just europeanastrobiology.eu. Very easy to remember. And you just have the working groups here. And you also have then the working group leaders. So you have, for example, here actually planetary environs and habitability. You have the working group leaders here, which is Catalina Pleser from the German Aerospace Center. And she is... And you write then to her if you want to join the working group, and then you are in. When it comes to taking part in the summer schools, I mean, you can always apply. I mean, also if you are not part of one of the involved institutions, but of course the bursaries, if we have one, we are only have for the EAI members. But since you are from University of Tartu, you are eligible for all of the bursaries. And there was quite a good presence of Tartu also at the beacon. Anyway, we have actually a summer school coming on. Summer school biosignatures and the search for life on Mars. And the deadline for that to apply is on the 15th of April, so in 5 days. So you can apply and you get a reduced fee because you are from the University of Tartu. And we will have a lot of fun things to do because we are doing excursions to lava fields and other interesting features. And we also have a lot of interesting lectures. So ask Ruth about the Iceland summer schools if she can recommend them, and I hope she will give you a positive answer. Okay?
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
You can participate in everything, in every working group also. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Wolf.
We'll continue now with our next present from University of Tartu. Mr. Paisalo.
Yeah, I especially told that I have to leave by 12:30, so I have to meet. Okay, so I really can do it in 5 minutes, but it will be very, very rushed because I have to very fast. Yeah. So we are talking about what we're doing in space technology. So we have several astrobiology related projects in Tartu Observatory. For example, Morningstar mission to Venus, which is the first planetary mission which is fully private funded to look into the clouds of Venus and study habitability. This is together MIT. But we are also developing some instruments for it. So this is going to this is multi-mission series, the first one which is going to launch hopefully this year already. And for that, we are basically making one vicinity sensor where there's LiDAR, it's LiDAR, not more about it, if you want, is taking photos somewhere, maybe. But yeah, we are developing this sensor which basically reacts to the acidity of droplets hitting it. It said lighting is very bad, but you see like this sorts of light happening in some places. So these are basically different facilities, droplets we hit, they produce flashes of different form. So right now you see more of them. And this is basically how you can detect how acidic the droplets are and make this statistical distribution of them in the Venus atmosphere, because the calibration of how acidic it actually is and how the droplets different acidity there, and this huge implications for life there. So this is roughly our sensor. It's like small cameras with a film, and also it will be deployed on this kind of leaflet type thing that will be dropped off the spacecraft in the atmosphere. We'll put up a space island from UK. Also, we are developing stuff for ISS. So this is an experiment that was on ISS last year in the summer. So it was an Axiom 4 mission. And we built a system for growing algae on ISS, and that's in that cube there, which the Polish astronaut is putting there. This was like developed for the Polish mission with the astronaut conducted there by Polish company, but we made mostly what's in the box, like electronics and sensors wise. We are also developing oblique instruments, which is also studying the dynamic of new comet, which has an absolute prebiotic chemistry in the solar system, and it's like in the final testing phase. And we know, we have in the past done like theater research together with MIT people, like studying the flight of flies in helium to actually determine like the limits of flight of like known organisms in different atmospheres. Also like the microfossil formation on Mars, which was used for some of the perseverance stuff. Also like some habitability stuff with hydrogen atmospheres, and also like oxidation and like sediment formation stuff. Like these are like the regional postdoc, but I continue to work for all of this here. And the new thing is that there was part of the one of the consortia for the ESA L4 mission for Enceladus, and there we are building, but lighting here is too bad to actually see anything, unfortunately. But the light around, basically we are tasked with making the 3D model of its nerves and to study where landing spots, actually take samples and probes and the sediment deposited that could actually samples by lander. Okay, thanks for everybody. I'm sorry.
It's a bunch of people here, so later on, if you have questions, I can introduce you to them. So they're really cool stuff in space technology department at the University of that Observatory. And now we will have someone from that observatory, stellar physics department, Lauritz Reeder, and he will introduce our group where I'm from and where Sandra is from. So Lauritz.
Yeah, thank you. This. Yeah, I would like to start with a statement that astrobiology is a very strange branch of science, as we don't know whether it's meant to exist or not. Astrobiology is said to study life beyond Earth, but we don't know yet is there life beyond Earth or not. Nevertheless, there are hundreds or perhaps thousands of institutes, departments, working groups all over the world who are working on astrobiology and making astrobiological research. And our Tartu Observatory also step by step is approaching to this community of astrobiological research institutes. And as an introduction, I would like to show one metaphor about astrophysics, as Professor Lucas Nix from Durham University, UK, has compared astrobiology with a cathedral. Astrobiology is a massive interdisciplinary endeavor requiring thousands of people and likely to last centuries. And astrobiology synthesizes knowledge, inspires people, and shapes the intellectual skyline. This is perhaps, for me, the most important aspect of astrobiology, our intellectual skyline. But when we come closer to the stars, we can easily say that there would be no astrobiology without stars. And stars are the most important components, most important structure in the universe. And without stars, there would be no chemistry, no biology, no astrobiology, no observers in the universe. We are lucky that the laws of physics and the plan of the universe is such that it was designed so that the universe started expanding after the Big Bang, and there arose structures, stars and galaxies. It could, in principle, it could happen that the universe would expand as a homogeneous mass of hydrogen and helium and no structures. And in this case, there would be no chemistry, no other chemical elements beyond hydrogen and helium, and most likely no light. But stars are functioning like nuclear reactors. They have produced all the other chemical elements beyond hydrogen and helium. Mostly in three types of processes. The light elements, such as iron, are created in the thermonuclear reactions or fission reactions. And higher elements or heavier elements are produced in supernova explosions, and the most heavy elements are produced mostly in mergers of neutron stars. So-called neutron capture processes. But when we are talking about possible life in the universe, then we think that it should exist on planets, probably, not on stars or inside the stars. And well, when 30 years ago we knew almost nothing about exoplanets, then now we can say that in average in our Milky Way galaxy there are at least 1.5 or perhaps 2 planets per every star. And if we know that there are about 200 billion stars in our galaxy, then you can imagine how many planets there are in our Milky Way galaxy. This doesn't mean that every star has just 1 or 2 planets, but some stars have many planets, up to 8, like our Sun, and some perhaps less, and hot massive stars most likely don't have planets. Here is some quite occasional pictures and graph, which stars host planets. This scale on the x-axis shows that the hotter stars are on the left and cooler stars on the right. Our Sun is of spectral type G. And as you can see, most of these exoplanet host stars are of type G, K, or M. A smaller number are hotter stars B, A, and also perhaps some N. But in our observatory, when we are involved in studies of exoplanet host stars for a couple of last years, mostly thanks to one project ExoHost, which lasted from the beginning of 2023 to the end of 2025, and which was just meant to enhance our capabilities and our potential in studies of exoplanet host stars. More exactly, it was called spectral characterization of exoplanet host stars and other stars. And we had good cooperation partners. One of them is the Institute of Space Research from Austria, where Ruth is from, and also University College London and Uppsala University. The latter was also mentioned here. And to a large extent, this ExoHost project was also to help to contribute our work, our cooperation with the European Space Agency's mission Ariel, which is meant to study atmospheres of exoplanets. It will not search for new exoplanets, but from known exoplanets, a sample will be selected, about 1,000 planets, and then this will be studied in detail in infrared spectral region mostly, and also partly in invisible light. And it was a time we were talking about the possible launch of Ariel in 2029, but now the last information from ESA says that it probably would be late until 2031, but nevertheless, this is not in a very far future. And in Ariel, we are involved mostly in 2 working groups: stellar characterization working group, which has a goal to receive or to retrieve homogeneous and self-consistent parameters of host stars, and also ephemeris working group. The main idea with Ariel is to observe the eclipses or transits when planet transits in front of the star, and we need to know these times of transits very exactly and precisely. So this needs some ground-based observations beforehand, and our kind of preparations. So just in connection with this Ariel, I would like to show here on the picture too, who studies just this hotter type exoplanet host stars, and also intermediate mass star planet connections. And then here is also one of the main person in installing and commissioning our new fiber shell spectrograph and a photometer, which has arrived to the observatory, but now we are implementing it to our 1.5 meter telescope. This is just one occasional graph from the work where is participating. So then, of course, Alexandra, who made a master thesis, now not with us, but now she has come to our observatory and then studied the exoplanet atmospheres, which are directly related to possible the possibility of life on exoplanets. And of course, I would say Alexandra is the most important person for popularizing and promoting astrobiology in Estonia. As we see today, she was the main organizer of this today's event. Well, also just one occasional graph of Alexandra's work. Well, for myself, I have not much to say, but maybe just as a personal comment also that I have had maybe some platonic interest to astrobiology since 1980s, maybe perhaps, but it has been realized maybe in 2020s only. And besides some administrative tasks, I would say that maybe the most important contribution is that in 2022 I started reading the course of astrobiology in the University of Tartu. And as far as I know, from the next academic year, it will be included in the curriculum of physics master students as optional course. And of course, it will be as a free course for all other students who are interested. So stay tuned. We hope that next spring semester in 2027, we start reading it again for the third time. And I have got a lot of help from Mikkel, who just left here, and from Alexandra, so we're reading this course. Well, this is also a paper concerning this light emission, which is a very project of very far future, large interferometer for exoplanets. But as far as I know, its funding is not yet quite guaranteed, but there is a big consortium studying such a possibility of infrared interferometry in space. And finally, as we have a lot of cooperation with this Institute of Space Research in Graz, I know from their webpage graph, which I think is very much relevant to our observatory too, as the institute in Graz says that their driving force there are three components of the driving force: diversity of exoplanets and planetary systems, uniqueness of Earth and the solar system, and the fine-tuning of life as we know it, and responsibility of humanity for planet Earth and space. So I think too that no matter whether there is life on other planets or not, we must treat our Earth like it would be unique. And as far as we know the diversity of the known exoplanets, there is no exact Earth analog known yet. And it may happen that our solar system actually is somewhat special among other planetary systems, but we have too few statistics yet to say it definitely. But anyway, as I said, there will be no astrobiology without stars. So any research into stellar physics actually is related to astrobiology. And while in stellar physics we are doing perhaps our first steps in astrobiology, and if there are students interested in the connection of stars and astrobiology, we encourage them to keep contact with our observatory, which actually is situated in village Türavere, you know. Yeah. And we can start to supervise your bachelor thesis or master thesis or perhaps PhD thesis also. And maybe sometimes we would learn together perhaps the main rules of biology, but we would be happy to attract new students this week. So I think this is all from me, and thank you.
Have any questions for Laurence? I just maybe want to make a comment about this interdisciplinarity. So I wasn't an astronomer either when I first started. I did my PhD in quantum physics, in experimental quantum physics. So I didn't know anything about stars when I came back to Estonia. I remember the first meeting we had in our department, they were talking about stellar magnitudes. I was so confused what they meant by those numbers, but we can learn whatever we want. If you're passionate enough, it's doable, so you don't need to like just pick up, like Ruth said as well, you can change your mind over the years and you can choose what you want to do. Yeah. So next, now we're moving from stars back here. And you have the home, talking about geology department, or institute, opportunities. And how they relate to astrobiology.
Hello, my name is Ivo, and I'm from the department, Geology department, in the state university. First of all, I just wanted to say that the question that Telleri asked from work, and because of this technical limitations, we didn't actually hear the answer, at least I didn't correctly, is that you cannot actually, as an individual, you cannot join the European Astrobiology institution, but because it is for organizations. But as an individual, you can join any of the working groups, and which is the list you can find from the webpage. And easiest to do is just to get in contact with the working group leader, or you can ask me, I can introduce you or say how you can do that. And also networking, which Ruth told us before, which is important, and you cannot start networking unless you go out or you start getting in contact with somebody. Okay, I was asked to say something about what we do in geology department, and I can show you some glimpses what we do. Geology, of course, quite a different discipline and deals with many things, but I'll show you something that we can relate to astrobiology. And now I lost. Maybe I pushed the wrong arrow. But anyway, this should be the next slide. And of course, I've been in different conferences, met a lot of people from who are doing actual research on astrobiology. Many of them come from huge or big institutes, and they can go into really detail, and they do everything, but they're big. Geology is small, well, it's a small department, so we do not cover the vast sphere of astrobiology. So we have some focus, and we focus mostly on research, on impact research. Why impact? Meteorite impacts. It's because Estonia we have 4 impact craters, at least 4 which have been sufficiently proven. Neugrunti, Päev, and Ilumets. And at one point, Estonia was the most densely populated country in the world in respect to impact craters. And Graz, by the way, maybe some of you know, it was actually the second impact structure on Earth that was proven just before after the Bellinger crater in Arizona. So we are famous by our craters. Okay, of course, meteorites have been fascinating people, and of course caused a fear as well over the centuries already. We all know about the extinction of dinosaurs and the prime suspect, which is a meteorite, which of course not absolutely 100%. By all scientists do not believe that it was an impact event. But I just put a slide here with Halle Halley's comet, which 1,000 years ago it visited our Earth orbit, and back then it was considered a bad omen for back then King of England, who lost the Normans, and they believe that England lost the Normans because of the Halley comet. So it has quite a controversial effect on our culture as well. So to go more in detail, what we do in the church department is one thing we have done and what the people are still doing is research on small craters. That's why, because we have small craters, and I said that we have we have 4 major craters in Estonia, which are proven. We have 1/5 one, which everybody believes is a major crater, but we have not found sufficient evidence to say that this is also a major crater, which is it's called Sörgmäe, the small one, and it is problem with the small craters that you don't find specific impact structures that you find when you look into a big crater. And this is problematic. And for example, it's a quite recent studies that if you find that charcoal, and not just charcoal around the place, but in a specific setting, which is beneath the rims, where the impactor hits the earth, so it creates a hole, and then it creates the rims of the ejecta material. And the organics that was before in this location, some of that, it depends on how it burns, but some of that probably turns into charcoal. And you find this charcoal underneath the rim and identify or study it. But one thing is that you have to make difference between the charcoal that has formed during the impact event and during the ordinary wildfire. And the charcoal is different. At least this is not very old knowledge. But basically, the light reflectance from the charcoal is different. It is more dull. It is not as reflective when it has formed during the impact event, and is way more reflective when it is formed during the wildfire event, like on these 2 pictures. So you can. This is actually the way this Ilomets major crater was finally proven that it is a major crater. Another thing what impact craters tell us and how it is kind of related to astrobiology is impact-induced hydrotherms. Well, basically, it's a hot water that percolates the Earth. What happens is that when the meteor smashes into the Earth, it heats up the rock, it cracks the rock, like here. And the water from water can start to move around, they are heated up, and it has, of course, very important geological importance, not just geological and economic importance, because many of the important metals, earth resources that we today use in our everyday life come from the same system. This hot water basically makes them. But in astrobiology, at least those hot water systems are basically places where you get specific minerals, for example, clays, and this is also those minerals have been used, for example, as an evidence in Mars, because 20 years ago there was a big discussion, heated discussion, whether there was water on Mars or not, because there is no water, at least liquid water, on Mars today. And finding those specific minerals, like clays, have proven that Mars had to have Oh, yeah, almost 100% had to have a liquid water for those to move. And the hydrothermal systems are also one of the systems that those minerals for. And those systems today are also places where bacteria, archaea, can survive or thrive. And we know that volcanic systems, which is very natural, volcanic systems are very good places for those small microorganisms to live. And as we told before, that this can be one of the first places where, or these can be the original places where the life evolved on Earth. And so studying those impacts, related cracks, and the water that circulates and what kind of rocks it forms can give us information and answers to how, in which environments life can survive and how life may have evolved on Earth, and so maybe also on other planets. Not impact anymore, but another major research topics is and also already goes to astronomers fields, but it is how to separate stony and iron meteorites. For example, we are planning to start mining iron meteorites, or at least there are people who are wanting to do that. First, you have to know which one is iron meteorite, which one is stony meteorite to make difference, because it's quite an expensive business to go there. They all look black, or many of those look black. Usually, we say that a black asteroid is an iron asteroid, and if it's lighter, then it's a stony asteroid. But many stony asteroids also have this black dust coating, basically, and it's really hard to tell. So those stony meteorites, which also black, they have this specific, like twilight, which cover or which compose most of that dust and make this cosmic body look really dark. So this is one of the things that people are doing in our department. It's fun. I use this AI-generated slide background, and it shows the content before the now we go from the impact research to another geology-related research. Another thing which is very much related to astrobiology is how we can be sure, and how we can say that those small things we find in rocks are evidence of life, because all the ancient life is only preserved in rocks. We don't see that in the atmosphere, because life that was evolved on Earth billions of years ago. Usually we don't see this life. We don't even see the fossils of this life. We only see the traces, the shapes, or the signals, chemical signals from that life. And it is one of the most difficult things to actually differentiate this organs produced life forms from these abiogenic life forms. And fossilization is one of the best and most important, perhaps, way of preserving small life forms and structures. And fossilization is something that when we study fossilization, then yeah, basically can preserve life structures. And this is a picture of 1.6 billion-year-old fossilized microbial mats from India. But as I said, one of the biggest challenges is to differentiate biogenic from abiogenic life forms. Fossilization itself started about 2 billion years ago. There are map of those places where we can see this phenomena of those rocks that contain fossilized minerals. In George department, people have studied. It's very small, but just say the place names. It's mega formations in Karelia, Russian Karelia. Right now, it's an ongoing project related to Gabon and Brazilian basin. Very important fossilization is taking place and started by us in off the coast of Namibia. And but it takes a lot of research and tests and trials to really see that those different small structures that you can find in rocks, whether these are really the remnants of some microbes once lived, or they are not. For example, these are modern metanotropic or metagenetic or archaea. And it's quite common that in old rocks, in specific types of old rocks, you see the same type of structures. For example, in this picture, on this picture, or on that picture, they look the same. And the most common structure of ancient microbes are those kind of like a rod-shaped structures. But over here, we know that this is actually really microbes. Over here, we are pretty certain this is microbes. But it's pretty much the same picture here. Sorry, it's not the biggest, it's quite a small pictures, but I hope that you can follow me. But over here, these are at least quite confidently this picture distinguished as biogenic origin. But these are actually laboratory tests which have taken abiogenic material, just different chemical elements, and made an experiment in organic matrix and produce different shapes that we can confuse with microbes. And this is has been we call it biomarkers, and biomarkers for actually for maybe a couple of tens of years, biomarkers or searching for biomarkers have been one of the biggest jobs in astrobiology, or search for life, the old life. And for a long time, there was a lot of papers done and said like, okay, we found this and that kind of shapes, and those have to be biomarkers because they are rod-like, or they are this shape like we see microbes today. But the last 10, 15 years, many of those research have been kind of like turned upside down and said that we get exactly the same shape of structures also from abiogenetic settings or environments. So this is one of those research we do. Microbes on terrestrial settings and basalts mostly. Basalt is why we study basalts a lot, because when we look outside our Earth, on Earth we have different types of rocks. But for example, we go to Mars, we go to the Moon, and mostly what we have different igneous rocks which are basalts. That's why the basalts are very heavily studied here. So when we see the formation biosignatures on modern basalt, so basically everything that's what we can say about the old life, the first life on Earth, or when we go outside on exoplanets. So we use analogs. But first we have to really study what we see on Earth and try to understand it. And then when we see the same signs from old rocks or from exoplanets, different information we can collect from exoplanets, then by using the analogs, we try to kind of say that if there's a life on other planets, do we have the signals which definitely show the life on Earth that gets the same signals from other planets, or if this type or shape of small micrograph in micrographic small structure is definitely biological origin, and though when we find exactly the same type of structure from really old rocks, then we can say probably this is an old evidence. It's an evidence of old life. But the research on basalts, it's been done a couple of years ago in Iceland by one of our postdocs on Finland, and she used different sites. Me myself, I'm having a couple of sites in the western part of Iceland. One of the pictures when we went to look for today's or recent microbial activities in lava caves and samples that stuff. But basically, yeah, on basalts, different microbes, how do they colonize this basalt? Do they live on every type of substrate? Like on this picture, we see that there's a heavily colonized place here, but the rest of the stuff is basically clean, sterile. So why is that? That's maybe we shouldn't look old rocks with that composition to try to find life. Mostly, yeah, modern microbes use potentially similar metabolic pathways, so basically the old life lived pretty much the same way as the life lives today. Of course, there are big differences. There can be big differences, but it's kind of the universal philosophy that's the life are the same as it is right now. And the last thing, which is also somehow related to astrobiology and research our evolution of our planet and the life. And this is an ongoing program, which is called Go Deep, and basically it's about oxygenation of Earth and drilling early Earth project. This project or previous project also related to this map I showed before, this phosphatized rocks from Zaragoza in Russian Karelia and Gabon in Africa. And right now they are drilling a lot of holes in Gabon, even some old, about 2 billion year old rocks in Gabon, and they try to fine-tune the methodology and knowledge about how our atmosphere got oxygen, because it wasn't there at the beginning. oxygen came to the atmosphere about 2.1, 2.4 billion years ago. The first kind of oxygenation event. But it is highly controversial thing. Not just whether the oxygen came, but most difficulties actually dating this event, when exactly it happened. And one thing what they try to do is exactly to do this timing, the magnitude, how global this event was, just everywhere like that. And of course the significance of how big an impact this oxygen made on the environment back then. And yeah, as it's this ongoing project, then I hope that it's a lot of interesting knowledge will be gained from that research. And I think that's the end of my life. And I hope it gave you some knowledge from glimpse and insights what we do in the Department of Geology. Thank you.
Okay, how any questions, anyone? Okay, you can find, there is a question about, yeah. Well, there is an island, like, to the west from Estonia, or something. So I used to hear that there was actually, something happened right next to the island, and there was a little crater, like water. So is there a way or how to like prove that it's really crater? Is it like on a sea bottom? Because on surface it's more or less clean water.
Yeah, this is actually, I had a picture on my second slide of that crater, but because it's under the sea and it's very, very old. It's about 550 million years old. So you don't actually see the crater itself. And this is the biggest. Those craters are organized by size. So the Neuburg crater is about 20 kilometers, the outer rim. So it's a big one, very old one. So it's basically not much to see. But different geophysical studies and also not so much the sea bottom. It doesn't show you us a lot because a lot has changed over the 500 plus million years. But it's still visible actually. I have been diving on that crater. Okay, it's 20 kilometers. You don't actually understand it. It's great when you're under the water, but you see at least the rocks under it. Yeah, it is growing crater.
There's a question over there.
Yeah, thank you. I'm biologist from Estonian University of Life Sciences, and I do some research with forest fires. So maybe my background in chemistry and oxidation is not so good, but would you be able to say at what oxygen level the combustion becomes possible? So maybe it is important with dating the events of the Earth between now and then when the oxygen of organic matter is possible.
Well, in case of those small craters and this study and all this charcoal that forms during those impact events, is that basically this crater formation and the rim formation of this material that has been blown out, it takes seconds. So basically, the organic matter that is buried underneath, it is buried in seconds underneath, and in that environment, there is no oxygen or very, very little. So this burning or charcoaling process is in anaerobic conditions, and probably this impact event itself, it heats up the surrounding material enough, but not enough. That's why we can make the difference between forest fire, wildfire, which is high temperature burning process, or charcoal making process. And the infrared process is a several hundred degrees low temperature. But it takes time. This material has to be hot enough, and it takes time. This burning or this charcoaling process is a slow process in anaerobic conditions.
Now, last but not least, we have Edith, who will talk about philosophy. Well, slides. Yeah. I'm actually a philosopher of biology, and discussing these matters in the context of astrobiology is just one of the tiny bits of my work.
Yes, sorry.
So my presentation, I don't want to go too much into the lunch, and I'm hungry. Okay, keskustelus veel edasi. Okay, thank you. So I'm hoping here some people who are not doing astrobiology and so are getting acquainted to that. So that's why I have some like basic definitions, which probably people doing astrobiology are already familiar with. So main philosophical questions of astrobiology, I mean the kind of contribution that it gives to philosophy of science, for instance, how to define and identify extraterrestrial life and also extraterrestrial intelligence. Also epistemological questions specific to astrobiology, what is specific for getting scientific knowledge in the framework of astrobiology. Also some ethical questions concerning extraterrestrial life, and also the existential questions about humans' place in the universe. So this is going to be like very basic overview. Okay, first of all, in order to search for something, we first have to identify it, and like kind of main another definition of life. Life is self-sustaining chemical system capable of Darwinian evolution, which seems to be pretty straightforward, but there's some classical examples showing that sometimes the theories about what counts as life might differ from situation to situation, and yeah, sometimes even in I mean earthly biology, it's sometimes not very clear whether we are dealing with living matter or not, let alone in extraterrestrial terrains. Okay. The so-called metabolism-like processes theory versus carbon-based theory. There's famous example about Viking landers on Mars in 1976, looking for products of metabolism-like processes, and actually defined. However, the findings were still considered inconclusive, or at that time even negative, because no organic compounds were found from Martian soil, which means that this sort of like carbon-based life theory actually was taken superior over these metabolism-like processes, and it was, yeah, that's where two like kind of theories about which kind of nuances to prioritize. Also, in Antarctica, it's difficult to like, yeah, in Antarctica, in Alan Hills, there was this kind of meteorite from Martian origin, and something like was taken to be microfossils from Mars were found. However, this kind of assumption was also put into doubt because those particles were considered too small to contain ribosomes, and so too small to kind of propagate via DNA. Now there are different options that we could imagine concerning those kinds of entities. If you have questions about this, for instance, entities that are capable of Darwinian evolution, but they have different chemical structure, different from the Earth-based life. Also, maybe something like evolution based on RNA. In that case, we wouldn't need ribosomes as such. Also, maybe something like Darwinian evolution based not on the biopolymers like RNA and DNA, but maybe something like mineral complexes or other structures, or life without Darwinian evolution as such. Now also questions about the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, which is kind of one branch of this search for extraterrestrial life. And already from quite a while ago, a long time ago, people on Earth tried to contact like the creatures from outer space, you know, like corn rings and stuff like that, and then radio signals, laser signals, and other possible techno signatures. Okay, but now there's still no confirmed evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence or life. Okay, and this is a kind of the plan that has been put down. Like, if something like that would be detected, there would be first of all verification by relevant scientific bodies, and then official announcement globally. The key problem, of course, is how would we recognize intelligence if it were radically different from ours, and also why would we support the assumption that it would have to be similar to ours? How to communicate with them? How each parties interpret the data given, the signals given? What's that kind of like the core of that communication, etc. Okay, and now a bit of science fiction, which kind of brings these questions of intelligence and life together. What about hypothetical entities who possess something like traces of intelligence, but are not life according to NASA's definition and don't have the kind of criteria that we would consider criteria of life on Earth? Like humanoid aliens, conceptual aliens from Star Trek, and this is also this famous novel by Fred Hoyle about the black cloud who enters our solar system, covers sun from us, and when it's told off for doing so, then it retreats and apologizes. So obviously some intelligence going on there, and also similar to life, but no criteria of earthly life. What could we do with creatures like that? Options, different kind of life, this is abiotic life, but extending the notion to a life too far would make the life, concept of life too liberal in the sense that it would also make the focus of research too wide. And if something contains everything or too much, it's not very helpful anymore. Also, the question, what are they? Are they intelligence but not life? Or maybe quite often in science fiction, there have been talks about like robots and such kind of things. Can they be artificial life? And there have been counter arguments to that, against that possibility, claiming that most planets are not sufficiently old to have made possible the processes of Darwinian evolution that would lead to the creatures intelligence enough to create artificial intelligence or artificial life. However, this counter argument is based on certain assumptions that we have about evolutionary processes, very slow, gradual cumulative change based on natural selection, working on blind mutations. However, there might be some accounts of evolution also, that's not some sort of like mumbo jumbo, quite serious accounts of new accounts of evolution For example, the third way evolution is also getting popularity. If you take that first way, evolution is creationism, second way is neo-Darwinism, which is assumptions about that random mutations and cumulative change, and this sort of like natural selection being the main evolutionary force. According to this third way, it also sees the importance of more like quicker processes of evolution, such as epigenetic factors, symbiogenesis, and such kind of thing. I'm not going to read them all, but you get the idea. It's just if we acknowledge the possibilities of all these kind of forces, not that the traditional accounts don't, but still. Then it might be possible that the assumptions about the age of the planets might be reconsidered in that sense. Or if we consider creatures that are some authors call super Darwinian evolution, humans already are something like super Darwinian creatures, species who are capable of technologically modifying themselves. They are something like genetic modifications, synthetic biology. So hypothetically, something like that could be going on elsewhere as well. And if creatures like that are capable of directing their evolution, so that makes also might as question why is it justified to talk about the requirement of Darwinian evolution in cases like this? Okay, the more general epistemological questions relevant for philosophy of science. Okay, first of all, how if there are like sometimes research is done by simulations or models or stuff like that. So how projectable is it actually to outer space? Or when it comes to biology, biology is already full of weight cases, exceptions and stuff like that, and that makes it even more difficult to discuss those things, analyze those things, and identify those things if these kind of biological creatures are far away. Okay. So yeah, even on Earth, we might be sometimes faced with questions whether something counts as life or not, and then sometimes the conceptions of that change. Okay, or ethical questions, stuff like planetary protection, ethics, which requires avoiding contamination, and that contamination meaning that we also shouldn't contaminate our own planet. Also, the questions concerning the relationship between scientific responsibility, ethical responsibility versus exploration and versus curiosity, and also moral status of extraterrestrial life. This is just slightly humorous section from one article which actually dealt with dehumanizing people. Yeah, human rights. Why? The very name is racist. If there would be something like sentient, intelligent being out there, how would it like influence what we think about ethics and stuff like that? Also, our place in the universe. If there would be something like traces of life, like certain traces of life would be found, then how would it influence our understanding of ourselves, our identity, our culture, our religion? Possibly there would be some sort of like rewriting of history. From the like old time, there have been already like speculations about the life originating from somewhere else. I'm sure those theories would like be boosted up. Theories like antique astronaut theories, yeah, as I said, like originated from extraterrestrial life, races, etc. Okay, didn't have conclusion as such. So, yeah, the conclusion is that defining life is not as straightforward as as it may be assumed to be sometimes, and difficult even on Earth, and even more difficult than extraterrestrial areas, and also might bring huge philosophical consequences to the different areas of philosophy, including very existential questions about the human place, universe, etc.
Questions for
What specifically is Darwinian? What's the definition of Darwinian evolution?
Inheriting your like imperfections or something, so that they would also be inherited to the next generation, that actually give you either like adaptive advantage or disadvantage or something like that. So crystals can also go through something like something that looks like reproduction, but they don't actually inherit the imperfections or stuff like that. So mutating, something like mutations.
Yes, I'm sorry. I may sound like a complete layman, but would you be able to explain what is xenobiology?
Xenobiology.
Or maybe somebody else?
I would think that that's the essence of biology, actually, no?
Yeah, it should be just different naming. You can also say exobiology and so on. Just like every good lab has meanings.
You suggest that this is like a synonym for this?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
As a Librarian and not very, let's say, as a person, I have a question. It was a very thin border between science fiction and philosophy of astrobiology. So isn't the philosophy of astrobiology is actually speculating or using the science fiction as a proof for its existence? Science fiction as a literature, as a genre, as a cinema, and so on.
I don't think philosophy of science uses science fiction as proof. Just maybe it provides us with interesting thought experience or something like that. The philosophy of science tries to be well, somewhat visionary, but still tries to be in contact with real science. So this kind of, but yeah, philosophy sometimes tries to bring out this thought experience, just to bring out philosophically interesting questions.
I just thought like information between the philosophy and like fiction. How related, if they are related.
Science fiction is
Because yes, the questions you post right here, they
yes.
are very broadly described or answered.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, science fiction is also in its nature very philosophical, yeah, and sometimes something makes predictions about what's going to happen actually afterwards. I mean, not maybe straightforwardly, but something very similar is going to actually happen in the future that science fiction maybe talks about us.
Thank you, Edith. So now it's the time for lunch. The lunch is just served over there. You can grab some chairs and there is around the tables and just gather around the table. And don't disappear after the lunch because that's going to be a great group work and very so stay here.
I will. We are disconnecting now. Bye all. Bye.